Hey, what's up, guys? I actually missed figures. I missed some memories. Um, there's a kid in my neighborhood. I told you he was an older kid. He was on the subway. He was getting off at the station that I actually got jumped at in '88. And this was, I think, a year later. Uh, he got a bunch of Coney Island kids, the same guys that jumped me. They they were dressed up. It was Halloween. They were wearing the friggin' I don't know if anyone remembers in New York. There was that Governor's Island. Was it Governor's Island? Where they had homeless dudes, the youths, right? Uh, they on Halloween they attacked these homeless guys and like killed like one of them and slashed the others and hit them with like bottles, yelling trick or treat. I remember it was a big thing. I was like, oh, I can't believe this. Like I think all the liberal things at the time in the '80s were like, oh my God, I can't believe how this is happening. It's like. Yeah, but so the two of the kids had Jason masks, right? The hockey masks, the fake ones, the plastic ones you buy in freaking, the drugstore, the Genevieve's or whatever. And so they cornered this kid, and he said, "Let me go," and they're like, no, no. And so he fought him. And they slashed him with a box cutter. They cut his arm. He had to go to the hospital and get stitches. I remember that on Halloween. I think it was '89. I was getting out of school in downtown Brooklyn. Okay. I actually went to a high school where you had to be smarter than average to go to, believe it or not. So not that it seemed to help, but after school it was ritual to not get jumped after school, whether outside or on the subway going home. But so it was on Halloween, and I remember, man, everybody's head was on a swivel. Everyone's head was on a swivel, and I'm walking by. I'm like, I'm almost to the DeKalb Avenue station by Flatbush Avenue, downtown. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe it. There's no one around, right? So we started walking by. It was like an old warehouse. I think they had turned it into like a parking garage. It was about like maybe 6 stories high. And all of a sudden I'm walking. All of a sudden something explodes in front of me. I thought it was a firecracker or something. I was like, oh damn. And then 2 more things explode in front of me. So I'm figuring, and the people around me are all frozen. And I'm like, so I look up. Where someone's dropping fireworks, but they're not fireworks. Okay, I look up and there's I gotta say, there's youths up on top of about 7 stories up, on the roof of this, parking garage that used to be like a warehouse back in like the early, 1900s, and they're dropping things off of the roof, and what they're dropping were bricks. Okay, like the big full-size bricks, and as they would hit the sidewalk, they would they would kind of simulate exploding. They were throwing and dropping bricks on top of those of us walking down the sidewalk. So, needless to say, we all started running, and it wasn't just students. It was like there was an old dude. There was there was like old black guy like running in all directions as these kids were dropping bricks down on us. I don't know how they didn't hit anybody. You can say, oh, they didn't mean nothing. They weren't aiming for you. Yeah, I'm sure they weren't. I remember too, when I got home that night, I remember watching the news. I think it was Eyewitness News, Channel 7. And apparently a group of youth in the village, they had they basically broke and smashed through. They went into a restaurant and started beating up the people in the restaurant on Halloween night. And they actually took a guy and threw him through the window. I remember that was a huge thing. So, yeah. So anyway, fast forwarding to it's now like 2008, 2009. It's already a new era, okay? And It was. I guess this is a story that you probably won't like, but whatever. I'll say it. I thought it was fun. My friend, my oldest friend, who was a drag queen per se, um, he actually came with me to Chiller Theater. Okay, when it was in Parsippany, they had gone from Secaucus to Parsippany, and also I had mentioned the infamous 2007 show of my other friend and me and some other people that we had met. I mean, we were drinking, and there were so many hot chicks there, just dressed up as like scantily clad things. I met Michael Rooker. There was people fighting. There was a guy who's dressed up as a devil that was causing trouble, that was attacking people, and the security guards at Chiller were kind of, a lot of them were like biker dudes, right? I remember my friend and me, we saw him grabbing the dude, and they opened the door with his head. It was actually great. And in the parking lot too, like we were in the parking lot earlier, and the guy was causing trouble out there. There was a guy with a Dalek, like he had made a replica Dalek costume. This dude started kicking the Dalek. Anyway, and then after that we went back in, and man, we drank more. Oh, I remember I met the dude from Mortician, Will Raymer, cool ass dude. Um, yeah, it was a good night. But this Chiller Theater I mentioned with my other friend, a very different friend, but um, he went there, and he was going to a Halloween party later in Manhattan. So I was gonna drop him off on the way through, because you had to go from Brooklyn, you had to go through Manhattan to get to Jersey, right? So unless you went through Staten Island, but and he decided he was going to be a blue-skinned alien princess, dominatrix, I guess. So, and of course, I was, I was going to be the bodyguard. I was assuming people were going to maybe cause trouble with my friend, who was literally, um, and the opposite happened. Everyone thought people took pictures with him. Everyone thought he was the greatest. There was dudes, and regular dudes, like kind of like talking to him and hitting on him and intrigued by him. And I'm like there, like the little, the bodyguard pacing back and forth, wondering like, hey, it was kind of, it was fucking hilarious. He had a great time, I'm pretty sure. And then I dropped him off later as I went home. I dropped him off in Manhattan, and I guess he had more fun that night. It's none of my business. But that was a positive thing. I remember going home too, and it was just hilarious. My mother knew him since he was a kid too, and she thought it was hilarious. Right? So, and pretty much since then, that's about all the Halloween memories I have, in terms of like, there's a couple of others I remember getting really drunk at. I always had more fun in Pennsylvania and in Manhattan than I did when I was, for a good 7-8 years, the the holiday didn't exist to me, and pretty much at this point in my life, it doesn't really exist to me now. It's only gonna ever mean anything to me again if um, if I do what I should, if I can, which is what was the promise that was crushed years ago, was to try to have children. It means something to them, as a measure of the harvest time, right? When the summer goes to sleep, right? Summer's at Samhain. What I see out there more and more, I don't have to tell you, is something I really don't like, but whatever. You have to deal with what you have to deal with in the time you're there. Yeah. And looking at this cool little thing, I got this at Walmart for $1. Looking at this thing, you see, once again, with the theme of what I'm talking about, no matter what darkness comes or what decline or falls, there is a renewal. Okay, and I keep saying, no offense to any of my Christian watchers, real Christians who I've met are pretty solid people. It means something, but the paganism, okay, obviously not, renew. In terms of today, we need to go back to that, and we're probably going to have to, in terms of when things stop working. Right? I keep saying the future is probably going to be is a real life horror, apocalypse, dystopia, right? Or it's just going back to how things always were before. So it's really just going back to what we're forged at. Right? And I'll tell you that all those stories I just told you, both the good and the bad, were things I never forget, and they were useful. Okay, the bad things were useful to show me how people were. Okay, and how violent and sadistic people could be, and it wasn't even like, yeah, it wasn't like Jeffrey Dahmer or something. It was just hooliganism. But a lot of it, if you can read between the lines of what I'm saying, I know you guys can't. There was a large degree of tribalism involved in that. I'll just leave it at that. I think you know what I'm getting at. So anyway, wherever you're at, if you, I hope you have a good, you know, Halloween season. Yeah, it's just thank God it's cooling off, man. And that's it. Summer's over. Right? Here comes winter. Stock up on meat. You heard? All right. I'll see you at Christmas time for one of these videos like this again. Christmas memories. Oh boy. More alcohol. All right. Good night.